Vex 9 flexed his tentacles nervously as he stared at the primitive neural interface before him. 3 cycles of preparation had led to this moment, and yet something felt terribly wrong. The human specimen lay unconscious on the biotable, completely unaware that his species was about to receive the shock of several lifetimes. "Are you absolutely certain about this procedure?" asked Dr. Clinth, her multiple eyes blinking in sequence like Christmas lights having a seizure. The council specifically warned against direct neural contact with humans. Vex 9 let out what humans might call a snort, if snorts could sound like dying vacuum cleaners mixed with dolphin clicks. "Clinth, my dear colleague, the council also said that humans were too primitive for space travel. Yet here we are, watching them accidentally blow up moons while trying to mine asteroids for entertainment purposes." The human subject, one Marcus Reed according to his identification chip, twitched slightly. Reed was a data analyst from Earth's northern continent, specifically chosen for his average intelligence and unremarkable psychological profile. Perfect for what Vex 9 had planned. Besides, Vex 9 continued, adjusting the neural probe with surgical precision, what's the worst that could happen? I hack into his brain, download a few memory files, maybe peek at some embarrassing childhood moments, and we finally understand how these bizarre creatures think. Dr. Clinth's expression suggested she could think of approximately 17,000 things that could go wrong, but she remained silent. The Zephyrian High Command had specifically requested this intelligence-gathering mission, and refusing direct orders was generally frowned upon, especially when those orders came from beings who could atomize planets with their thoughts. Vex 9 initiated the connection sequence. The neural interface hummed to life, creating a soft blue glow that would have been quite pretty if it weren't about to violate several interstellar laws regarding sentient species rights. "Connection established," Vex 9 announced, his voice carrying that particular smugness reserved for hackers who think they're about to pull off the digital heist of the century. Beginning data extraction in 3, 2, 1. The moment Vex 9's consciousness touched Marcus Reed's mind, reality decided to take a coffee break. The first thing that hit him wasn't information. It wasn't memories or thoughts or even basic cognitive functions. It was pure, unfiltered emotion crashing into his psyche like a freight train carrying nuclear waste and existential dread. "What in the 7 burning moons of Zarath is this?" Vex 9 screamed, his physical body convulsing as every nerve ending he possessed suddenly felt like it was being deep-fried in anxiety sauce. Dr. Clinth rushed to the monitoring station, her tentacles flying over the controls faster than a pianist having a panic attack. "Vex 9. What's happening? Your neural patterns are completely chaotic." But Vex 9 couldn't respond coherently. He was too busy experiencing what humans call Monday morning for the first time in his 200-year existence. The human brain, it turned out, was not the simple organic computer that Zephyrian science had predicted. Instead of neat, organized files of information, Vex 9 found himself drowning in an ocean of contradictory thoughts, half-remembered song lyrics, random grocery lists, and an inexplicable obsession with cat videos that defied all logical explanation. "Why?" Vex 9 gasped between mental screams. Does this creature simultaneously worry about paying bills, wonder if his coworker likes him, plan his lunch, remember a TV commercial from 15 years ago, and compose imaginary arguments with people who aren't even present, all at the same time? Dr. Clinth frantically adjusted the connection parameters, but the damage was already done. Vex 9's orderly, logical mind was being assaulted by the beautiful chaos that was human consciousness. And what? Vex 9 continued his mental breakdown. Is this constant stream of self-doubt mixed with overconfidence? This Reed person is simultaneously convinced he's the smartest being in the room, and also worried that everyone thinks he's an idiot. How do they function with this level of cognitive dissonance? The neural interface began sparking. Warning lights flashed throughout the laboratory like a disco for people who really didn't want to dance. "Vex 9, I'm reading massive feedback loops," Dr. Clinth reported. She did the off, her voice climbing several octaves into the range typically reserved for mating calls and emergency broadcasts. "The human's neural activity is increasing exponentially. On the bio table, Marcus Reed's unconscious form began to twitch more violently. His brain, sensing the foreign intrusion, was doing what human brains do best when faced with something they don't understand. It was getting creative. "Oh no," Vex 9 whispered, his mental voice suddenly very small and very afraid. "Oh no, 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 no." He's fighting back. The human mind, it seemed, did not appreciate being hacked. And Marcus Reed's subconscious had decided to mount a defense that would have impressed military strategists across 17 different galaxies. Instead of simply rejecting the alien presence, Reed's mind was actively trying to understand it, categorize it, and, worst of all, empathize with it. Vex 9 found himself being psychoanalyzed by a species that he had considered barely above intelligent livestock. "Why are you here?" came a voice from the depths of Reed's consciousness. It wasn't spoken words, but pure thought transmitted with the kind of directness that made Vex 9's species communicate through interpretive dance and passive-aggressive electromagnetic pulses. "I'm gathering intelligence," Vex 9 stammered mentally. "About what? And why do you feel so lonely?" The question hit Vex 9 like a metaphysical brick to the face. Lonely? He wasn't lonely. He was a sophisticated alien intelligence conducting a scientific mission. He had no time for primitive emotional concepts like loneliness. Except, he realized with growing horror, he was lonely. Terribly, achingly lonely. And somehow, this unconscious human had recognized it within moments of mental contact. That's not, I don't. Vex 9's thoughts became increasingly incoherent as Reed's mind continued its gentle but relentless psychological assault. "It's okay," Reed's subconscious continued with the kind of casual compassion that Vex 9's species required, 3 graduate degrees and a religious ceremony to express. "Everyone gets lonely sometimes. Even aliens, apparently. Want to talk about it? Make it stop." Vex 9 screamed both mentally and physically, his body thrashing against the neural interface controls. Dr. Clinth was now fully in panic mode, her tentacles moving so fast they were creating small sonic booms. "I can't disconnect you. The human's mind is somehow maintaining the link." This was true. Marcus Reed's brain, operating on principles that violated several fundamental laws of Zephyrian psychology, had decided that this alien visitor needed help, and if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was helping people whether they wanted to be helped or not. "Look," Reed's mental voice continued, completely ignoring Vex 9's distress, "I can sense you're part of some kind of advanced civilization, right? But you're here poking around in my head instead of, I don't know, curing space cancer or whatever it is advanced aliens do. That suggests you're probably in some kind of job you don't really enjoy, working for people who don't appreciate you, trying to prove something to yourself or others." Vex 9's mental screaming reached frequencies that several nearby star systems registered as unusual solar activity. "Am I close?" Reed asked with the kind of gentle persistence that therapists and concerned mothers use to slowly dismantle emotional barriers. "Yes," Vex 9 finally admitted, his psychological defenses crumbling faster than a sandcastle in a hurricane. "Yes. Yes, you're absolutely right. I hate my job. I hate reporting to Commander Zilth. I hate pretending that our species is superior when we can barely manage to colonize planets without accidentally poisoning ourselves. I hate that I'm 300 years old, and I still don't know what I want to do with my life." The laboratory fell silent, except for the gentle humming of the neural interface, which had somehow stabilized during Vex 9's emotional breakdown. Dr. Clinth stared at her colleague with the kind of expression typically reserved for watching someone spontaneously combust while reciting poetry. "And you know what the worst part is?" Vex 9 continued, apparently unable to stop the flood of confession now that it had started. "You humans figured out faster than light travel by accident while trying to make better pizza ovens. Pizza ovens. Do you have any idea how that makes the rest of us feel?" "Actually, that's pretty cool," Reed's subconscious responded with genuine enthusiasm. "I mean, pizza is important. Have you tried pizza? Because if you're going to have an existential crisis about your place in the universe, you should at least do it while eating good food." Vex 9 paused his mental anguish. What is pizza? And that's when things got really interesting. Marcus Reed's unconscious mind, demonstrating the kind of hospitality that had made humans simultaneously beloved and feared throughout the galaxy, began sharing memories. Not just descriptions of pizza, but full sensory experiences. The smell of melting cheese, the satisfaction of biting through crispy crust, the social bonding that occurred when groups of humans gathered around circular food platforms. Vex 9 experienced his first taste of human cuisine, and it was a revelation that shook him to his very core. "This is," he whispered, his mental voice filled with wonder. "This is incredible. How did you create something so perfect?" "Oh, that's not even the good stuff," Reed's mind responded cheerfully. "Wait until you experience chocolate." Dr. Clinth watched in growing amazement as her colleague's vital signs stabilized and his neural patterns began showing signs of something she had never seen before: contentment, joy, and stranger still, what appeared to be friendship. "Vex 9, she called out tentatively. Are you bonding with the human?" "Clinth," Vex 9 replied, his voice dreamy and distant. "Did you know that humans have a ritual where they gather in large groups to watch other humans chase a spherical object around a field, and they consider this entertainment?" That doesn't sound very sophisticated. That's what I thought. But Reed is showing me the emotional complexity involved. The tribal loyalty, the shared hope and disappointment, the way complete strangers become family for 90 minutes while supporting the same group of sphere chasers. It's beautiful, Clinth. It's absolutely beautiful. Dr. Clinth began to suspect that this mission was not going according to any plan that had ever been conceived by rational minds. On the bio table, Marcus Reed smiled in his sleep. His brain had successfully befriended an alien intelligence, shared the joys of human culture, and was now working on what it considered the most important part of any new friendship: finding out what the alien's hobbies were. "So, Vex 9, came Reed's gentle mental inquiry. What do you do for fun?" The question stopped Vex 9 cold. Fun? The concept of recreational activity for personal enjoyment was so foreign to Zephyrian culture that they didn't even have a word for it. The closest translation would be inefficient time allocation for non-productive purposes, which hardly captured the spirit of the thing. "I don't understand the question," Vex 9 admitted. "Fun. You know, things you do because they make you happy, not because you have to. My species doesn't really have that concept." The silence that followed was the kind of profound quiet that occurs when someone realizes they've just learned something that changes everything they thought they knew about the universe. "Oh," Reed's consciousness finally responded, and somehow that single word contained more compassion and understanding than entire volumes of Zephyrian philosophical texts. "Oh, you poor thing. And with that, Marcus Reed's unconscious mind made a decision that would have far-reaching consequences for interstellar relations, cosmic understanding, and the future of pizza distribution throughout the galaxy. It decided that Vex 9 needed to learn how to have fun. The neural link, which should have lasted minutes, had now been active for over an hour. Neither participant seemed inclined to disconnect, and Dr. Clinth was beginning to realize that she was witnessing something unprecedented in the history of interspecies contact. "Clinth," Vex 9 called out suddenly, his voice filled with an excitement she had never heard before. "Cancel my report to command." "What?" "Vex 9, you can't just cancel a mission report to the High Command." "Actually, I can. Because I'm about to learn something called the electric slide, and according to Reed, it's going to change my life." Dr. Clinth sat down heavily, her tentacles drooping with resignation. She had the distinct feeling that this was going to be a very long day, and that by the end of it, she was going to need several strong drinks and a career change. The neural interface hummed contentedly, facilitating the strangest friendship in galactic history. 2 hours into what was supposed to be a 15-minute intelligence extraction, Dr. Clinth found herself documenting the most bizarre first contact scenario in recorded galactic history. Her colleague was currently learning to appreciate human music, while simultaneously having what appeared to be a philosophical breakthrough about the nature of existence. "Clinth, Vex 9 exclaimed, his voice crackling through the neural interface speakers. Did you know that humans create rhythmic sound patterns specifically designed to make other humans move their bodies in coordinated motions? You mean dancing? Dr. Clanth replied wearily, wondering if her medical degree had prepared her for this level of absurdity. It's not just dancing. Reed is showing me something called a wedding reception. Humans gather to celebrate the bonding of two individuals, but then they spend most of the time performing synchronized movements to amplified acoustic vibrations. And they call this celebration. On the bio table, Marcus Reed's smile had grown wider. His unconscious mind was thoroughly enjoying its role as cultural ambassador to an alien species that had apparently forgotten how to enjoy anything. But wait, Vex 9 continued, his mental voice becoming increasingly animated. There's more. Reed, show Clint about the thing called karaoke. Dr. Clint felt a chill run down her primary spine. The what now? Through the neural link, MEC, Marcus Reed's consciousness began projecting memories of humans voluntarily standing in front of groups to sing popular songs with varying degrees of skill and sobriety. The emotional resonance was overwhelming. Joy and embarrassment and community acceptance all mixed together in a cocktail of pure human experience. They do this for fun, Clint. They deliberately make themselves vulnerable in front of others, and instead of using this weakness to establish dominance hierarchies, they support each other. They cheer. They sing along. Dr. Clanth stared at the readouts in disbelief. Vex 9's neural patterns were showing levels of happiness that shouldn't have been possible for their species. This is medically impossible. Zephyrians don't experience joy at these frequencies. Maybe, came Reed's gentle mental voice, somehow including Dr. Clanth in the conversation, your species just never learned how. The simple statement hit both aliens like a cosmic revelation. Dr. Clanth felt her secondary heart skip several beats as she considered the implications. Had their entire civilization been missing something fundamental about existence itself? Reed, she found herself asking, how do humans cope with the meaninglessness of existence in an infinite universe? Oh, that's easy. Reed's consciousness replied with characteristic human nonchalance. We make our own meaning. We decide what matters to us, and then we care about it really, really hard. But that's completely illogical. Sure is. Works great, though. Watch this. Suddenly, Dr. Clanth found herself experiencing Marcus Reed's memory of holding his newborn nephew for the first time. The overwhelming surge of protective love. The desperate desire to make the world better for this tiny, helpless creature. And the sudden understanding that some things were worth fighting for simply because you chose them to be worth fighting for. Dr. Clanth began crying. This was particularly noteworthy because Zephyrians only cried when exposed to toxic atmospheric conditions or during severe allergic reactions to quantum particles. Why am I leaking from my optical sensors? She asked in confusion. Those are tears. Vex 9 explained gently. Reed taught me about them. They're how humans express emotions that are too big for words. Apparently we can do it too. Who knew? The neural interface began registering something unprecedented. Not one, but two alien minds were now fully integrated with the human consciousness, and instead of overloading Marcus Reed's brain, the connection was actually strengthening all three participants. This shouldn't be possible. Dr. Clinth whispered. Our neural architectures are completely incompatible. Maybe compatibility isn't about architecture, Reed suggested. Maybe it's about wanting to understand each other. At that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the research facility. The sounds were immediately recognizable to both aliens as the approach of a Zephyrian battle cruiser. Oh, stellar waste products, Vex 9 muttered. That would be Commander Zilth coming to check on our progress. Dr. Clint's tentacles flew over the communication controls. Commander Zilth, this is Research Station Gamma 7. We're still conducting the extraction procedure. The response came through in the form of Commander Zilth's characteristic growl, a sound like grinding metal mixed with disappointed expectations. Dr. Clanth, you were scheduled to complete this operation 3 standard time units ago. What is the delay? Well, sir, we've encountered some unexpected complexities in the human neural structure. Elaborate. Dr. Clinth looked at Vex 9, who was still connected to Marcus Reed and appeared to be learning about something called ice cream sundaes. How exactly did one explain to a military commander that their intelligence operative had accidentally discovered the meaning of life through snack foods? The human brain is more sophisticated than our initial assessments indicated, sir. How much more sophisticated? Well, sir, they appear to have solved several philosophical problems that have plagued our species for millennia, and they did it while inventing recreational activities. The silence from Commander Zilth's end of the communication lasted long enough for several nearby planets to complete their rotations. Dr. Clinth, are you telling me that this primitive species has achieved philosophical enlightenment through play? That's one way to put it, sir. Another long pause. Then, in a voice that suggested Commander Zilth was reconsidering several life choices, I'm coming aboard. The communication ended. Leaving Dr. Clinth to contemplate how she was going to explain the current situation to a military officer whose idea of recreation was reorganizing supply inventories for optimal efficiency. Vex 9, she called out urgently. Commander Zilth is boarding the station. We need to conclude this procedure. Actually, Reed's mental voice interjected. Maybe your commander should experience this too. Sounds like he could use some help with stress management. Absolutely not. Dr. Clinth exclaimed. Commander Zilth connecting to a human consciousness would be like introducing antimatter to a meditation retreat. Trust me, Reed insisted with the quiet confidence of someone whose species had survived everything from ice ages to reality television. I can handle difficult personalities. I work in customer service. Vex 9's mental laughter was so infectious that Dr. Clinth found herself giggling despite the approaching crisis. Reed, my friend, Commander Zilth makes difficult customers look like peaceful garden creatures. Challenge accepted. Before Dr. Clinth could protest further, the laboratory doors burst open with unnecessary dramatic flair. Commander Zilth strode in, his impressive bulk making the room feel significantly smaller, and his presence making the air feel significantly more oppressive. Report. He barked, his voice carrying the kind of authority that made junior officers spontaneously organize their sock drawers. Sir, Dr. Clinth began carefully. The intelligence extraction has revealed that human consciousness operates on principles that challenge our fundamental understanding of neural processing, emotional regulation, and existential purpose. Commander Zilth's multiple eyes narrowed simultaneously, creating the visual effect of a very angry disco ball. Translate that into standard military terminology, Doctor. The humans are really good at being happy, sir. Happy? Commander Zilth repeated the word as if it were a particularly unpleasant medical condition. Yes, sir. They've developed sophisticated emotional and social technologies that allow them to find satisfaction and meaning in virtually any circumstance. It's quite remarkable. Commander Zilth approached the neural interface, studying the readouts with the intensity of someone examining enemy battle plans. And Agent Vex 9's current status? He's learning to appreciate something called birthday parties, sir. Birthday parties? Celebratory gatherings where humans acknowledge the anniversary of each other's birth by consuming sweet food substances and participating in various joy-inducing activities. Commander Zilth stared at the neural interface display, watching Vex 9's brainwaves spike with patterns of contentment that violated several laws of Zephyrian psychology. And this is effective? Remarkably so, sir. Agent Vex 9's stress indicators have decreased by 97%, his cognitive function has improved dramatically, and his overall life satisfaction readings are off the charts. Life satisfaction? Commander Zilth asked, as if the concept were entirely foreign to him, which, considering Zephyrian military culture, it probably was. At that moment, Vex 9's voice came through the speakers, dreamy and content. Commander Zilth. Perfect timing. Reed wants to know if you'd like to experience something called a group hug. Commander Zilth's expression suggested that he would rather be court-martialed than experience whatever a group hug might be. However, the sight of his usually stressed and anxiety-ridden intelligence operative speaking in tones of genuine happiness gave him pause. Agent Vex 9, your mission parameters were to extract tactical intelligence. Not to whatever this is, sir. With respect, I've learned more about human capabilities in the last 3 hours than our entire intelligence division has gathered in 5 years of observation. Such as, they're not just resilient, Commander, they're anti-fragile. Every challenge makes them stronger, every setback teaches them something new, and every tragedy somehow gets transformed into wisdom or art or both. They're not just survivors, sir. They're evolution in action. Commander Zilth considered this information while staring at the peaceful expression on Marcus Reed's unconscious face. And they achieved this through recreational activities? Among other things, yes, sir. But Commander, there's something else, something important. Proceed. They're not our enemies, sir. They could be our teachers. The laboratory fell silent, except for the gentle humming of the neural interface and the soft sounds of 3 very different minds sharing the same space and harmony. Commander Zilth walked slowly around the bio table, studying Marcus Reed with the careful attention of a military strategist encountering an entirely new form of warfare. This human, he's completely defenseless. Yes, sir. Maze, and yet he's successfully neutralized our most skilled intelligence operative through friendship. That appears to be the case, sir. Commander Zilth stopped walking and turned to face Dr. Clinth. Doctor, in your professional opinion, what would happen if we attempted to conquer a species with these capabilities? Dr. Clinth considered the question carefully. Sir, based on what I've observed, I believe they would welcome us, teach us their ways, and somehow convince us that conquest was never what we really wanted in the first place. And what would we really want? To belong somewhere, sir. To matter to someone, to have birthday parties. Commander Zilth stood in contemplative silence for several minutes, processing information that challenged everything he thought he knew about warfare, psychology, and the nature of strength itself. Finally, he approached the neural interface control panel. Doctor, how do I connect to this network? Sir, I strongly advise against that. The psychological effects appear to be permanent. Good, Commander Zilth replied, reaching for the neural probe. It's about time. As the connection established, Marcus Reed's unconscious mind welcomed its third alien visitor with the same gentle hospitality it had shown the others. And Commander Zilth, the most feared military strategist in the Zephyrian fleet, experienced his first moment of genuine peace in over 2 centuries of life. Welcome, Commander, came Reed's warm mental greeting. Ready to learn about something called vacation time? Dr. Clinth sat down and began composing what would become the most unusual first contact report in galactic history. It's a document that would eventually lead to the establishment of the first interspecies cultural exchange program, the founding of the Universal Institute for Applied Happiness, and the introduction of pizza to 17 different star systems. But most importantly, it would mark the beginning of a friendship between species that proved the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or weapons or intelligence. It was the simple, radical act of choosing to care about each other. Marcus Reed woke up 6 hours later to find 3 aliens sitting around his bed, sharing a pepperoni pizza and arguing about whether Star Wars or Star Trek represented superior spacefaring philosophy. He smiled, stretched, and asked if anyone wanted to teach him about faster-than-light travel. The universe would never be the same. And it was absolutely, undeniably, better for it.